The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNCNow.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community that sees all things new. I am Alpha Sanford and I am streaming live from Boston, Massachusetts. Good morning, good evening, good day, mabuhay. Welcome to Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher on TNC. It's Alpha Sanford here, streaming live from Boston, Massachusetts. I know it's been a while, right? I feel like I haven't talked to you or I haven't had a guest for a month, but we are here. And do remember that it's not really every Saturday that I get to have this time with you, but it is on selected Saturdays. So while you are with us, tell me, how's your summer been? Comment on the comment section who you are, why are you watching, and if this particular episode gets to your heart, because we will be talking about accessing services from the DDS in California. So if that actually pertains to you, or if you know somebody who is in California who have families or children with developmental delays or intellectual impairment, tag them and tell us that you are with us today, because for today's episode, we are very lucky to have someone who was actually an immigrant in California, and he immigrated in California in 1998, but he was born and raised in Camiling, Tarlac in the Philippines. His journey has been wonderful. We will get to know him even more later throughout this conversation. But I find it very well that this person is very humble, yet holds a lot of knowledge in terms of providing services for our children and adults who have intellectual disabilities, dual diagnosis, or developmental delays. So let me just give you a little bit of introduction of our guest. Our guest today is Mr. Jeff Antonio. He actually has a bachelor degree of nursing, and he is a registered behavior technician. Prior to him doing this complex case management with the DDS of California. He was a 12-year veteran, being a BCABA. All right, we'll get to know more. What is that BCABA later? He has also worked at the Unified School District in California for 12 years as a behaviorist, and he has extensive work in the crisis facilities in California. He has three wonderful boys, Ralph, Kyle, and Andre, and he has a beautiful wife, Amy, and they currently live in San Francisco in the East Bay area. So, without further ado, let me bring you in Mr. Jeff Antonio, a true Camileño, and now from San Francisco. Mr. Antonio, come on in.
Hi, I guess good morning, US time, Philippines, good evening. Hello to everyone all over the world. Hello, have a good day. It's been pleasure to have here. Quite nervous. This is my first time, but I think we'll get through this. But yeah, I mean, I would love to answer some questions, or maybe a lot of questions in regards with DDS and other stuff that I think I know. If I have answers, then I would love to share.
Great, awesome. I'm sure you have a lot of answers to these wonderful questions because based from all of these great things that I've been hearing from many people, especially Filipinos in California, you have helped a ton of families in California. So before we get started, Manong Jeff, and I'm gonna tell everybody, I call him Manong because we both was raised and born in Camiling. And Camiling is a very historical part of the Philippines. We're very proud of our roots. So I call him Manong. He's a fellow Camileño. So yeah, you will hear me saying Manong, which is actually an endearment to somebody who is older than you. All right, so Manong Jeff, tell us your journey like in becoming involved with DDS. Why don't we start with that?
Okay, so I joined, or kind of like my journey starts DDS, I think 5 years ago. But way back, I had some ideas, like, I really want to join or kind of like apply to this job. It's been a while. It's kind of like my dream job, kind of. But then again, I didn't discover that not until I came here in the United States.
Okay.
So being a nurse coming here and kind of like not really my passion to be a nurse, I guess. I kind of like explore some other, field. So one of them, I was introduced with special ed in 1998. The first month that I came here, and I got into, some interest in behaviors. So right then and then on the spot, it's not like, is this really something I can do? It's kind of like hard when you look at them because, I don't have any idea. I mean, behaviors in the Philippines are behaviors in the street. I mean, it's kind of like typical, but that's where it started, 1998. And then as you go on, and then, I became, I went to school, by the way, because I can't just go jump into this kind of job without, educational, with it. So I applied, after evaluating my credentials from the Philippines, I need a behavioral science to take up some behavioral science, courses. So I took that first online, and then I enrolled, a certification program from to Florida Institute of Technology, so FIT, and then all those certifications, and then I got qualified, and then I enrolled my undergrad program, which is, unfortunately, I haven't finished it, but I'm hopefully before I retire, I can kind of like get to that point. So that's my I think missing on my resume right now, but I became a case manager like almost 5 years ago. But then I'm doing case management like over 12 years. So doing case management outside regional center is a little bit different. Going to state funded. So DDS is a little bit different. It's kind of like, super broad. It's big. It's the whole field, I'm
That's
talking
right.
about. So when I when I did some case management in Unified School District, and which is, you are very familiar, Alpha. It's super isolated, should I say? Just like behaviors, and you're doing that, you're looking over cases and stuff like that, right? Behavior intervention plan. But once you transition to the Department of Developmental Services, that's different. Regional Center, Department of Developmental Services, it's different. It's like the whole new, it's overwhelming at some point. And we had an extensive trainings. 6 months probation plus additional 6 months for hands-on training, and then finally after a year you can get your own.
That's right.
But still, you still have some kind of like consultation from your supervisor, but you're on your own after that. So that's where I get started. I started 2018, I think, or late 2017. Then now I'm still here at DDS. So
well, it's great. What a journey. So I feel like your journey started off with you being a nurse, very different from the typical trajectory of the stigma of a Filipino coming in to California in the United States. And now you're a case manager. But tell us, the people who don't know, what does a case manager do? Let's start with that. Let's start about what do you do as a case manager? And then what is DDS? Let's talk about those.
So first of all, DDS, it's a Department of Developmental Services of California. So this is where I work. The DDS, it's like an umbrella. So they have a regional center. Regional centers in California, there's like 26 regional centers. So regional centers are the one facilitating and dispersing money, or kind of like overlooking the budget. We're the ones who are facilitating all the money, the fundings from DDS with all those developmental services. So as a case manager, what we do here is, we try to assess situation. We work closely with the family and clients, and as well as the agencies that we work with. The agencies that we fund through DDS, these are the agencies that helps directly to the family. But as a case manager, we're kind of like in between. So dealing with the agencies, and then, providing assessment and dealing with the family as well. And then you have to entice together, identify the needs, and then identify how much appropriate budgets and its services. So that was the main kind of like, typical case management thing, but it goes beyond that. It goes more beyond that. So it just depends on the cases. So it's like a case to case basis. So as a case manager right now, my title is just a case manager, but in my caseload, I have complex case management. I have early intervention case management. I have transition case management. I am a bilingual case manager as well. So I have like, maybe 20 or 25 cases, which is Tagalog speaking. So it's kind of like, it evolves from, compared to, 10 years ago, because back then when you're a case manager, you're just be a case manager for one group. So let's say early intervention, you're just going to be dealing with early intervention. Nowadays, it's because of shortage of, case managers and case management. It's just overwhelming at some point, but they put them all together. That's why our trainings are super extensive and rigid and detailed, because you cannot just assess straight up and approve straight up without knowledge and the ability to understand what's going on. So the case management as a whole is like, it's a personalized connection to the family and the client as well.
Right.
Okay. And yes, and 5 years ago they came up with, called, they put a term like person-centered services. So it pertains to the client. So whoever the client is, it doesn't matter if it's a well-off family, if it's like a poor, beyond, or average living, or it doesn't matter. We are providing services to that client. So even if it's like a millionaire compared to none, or some kind of like nothing at all, same service that we provide in a client. There's no difference at all. There's no special accommodations. There's no expedite, or there's no nothing like that. It's just a person-centered services. So looking at and addressing that services and addressing that support that they needs for that client, it doesn't matter if it's well off or not. Because some other families here, they're really well off. I have a client
Mm-hmm.
myself, you know, the parents are like, scientists, and the other one is a surgeon. The mom is a surgeon, the dad is a
Mm-hmm.
scientist. But then again, they still need that support because they don't have the ability to explore those supports and stuff. So regional center are the ones finding those, exploring those supports, and filling in to those clients and whoever that may be. So
Right.
that's basically what we do in regional center.
Great. So let me just rephrase exactly what does DDS do, especially for our children and adults with disabilities. So what I heard from you is that there is this department that is both state funded and federally funded, and this department provides services, including funding to children and adults with disabilities, correct?
Correct.
So, for our families, especially our Filipinos and Filipino Americans in the East Bay Area or in California, if you have a family member or if you know of a friend who have a children, or adult that have intellectual disability or developmental delay, this show is for you. We want to make sure that you understand that there are services that you can access so that your children or your family member or members will get what they need, right? So, Manong Jeff, let's talk about what are the services that DDS could provide to certain families.
Yeah, sir, definitely. So DDS regional center, we are the last resort.
Okay. Yeah.
We are the last resort, but that doesn't mean that we are limited to what we can provide, what DDS can provide. Actually, 0 to 3, there's like different funding from that one, and then 3 to 11, and then 11 to 17, and then 18 to adults. So different fundings, different services, different, but we provide a lot. So, for example, for 0 to 3 years old,
Mm-hmm.
since they're not attending school, they're not in unified school district yet. Whatever that individual or client, we can provide services and support, and even some kind of like some other financial or needs that they need in the family. So some other families that really both parents are not working due to whatever reason, then we can still provide some kind of like financial help
Nice.
specifically, but you have to explore that as long as the child has disability and it has to entice with their situation and everything. So for example, for 0 to 3 years old, we provide like diapers.
Oh, wow.
We fund
Okay.
diapers. We fund OT if they need some kind of like occupational therapy. We
Okay.
provide speech since
Mm-hmm.
speech therapy since they are not under unified school district yet. It's funny because you Alpha are very familiar with what you guys provide in the district. That's why when we connected, when we had some kind of like conversation, we know exactly what you guys can fund and what's not.
That's right.
So after the transition to the school district can provide those basic needs for the clients. And then again, that won't stop the regional center.
Mm-hmm.
Regional centers can still provide other services and support.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those two generic support and services that we provide are the daycare and then the respite. So I'll talk about a little bit of respite. Okay,
Yeah.
so the respite services, these are the services that we provide to the family members or the
Mm-hmm.
parents or whoever takes care of the client. So
Mm-hmm.
this respite is technically it's a break for caring for their child or for their individual that they care of at home. So we provide that. It varies from 20 to 40 hours per month, and we fund an agency to provide to pay that person to have the individual or the parent have a break. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other service that we provide, generic services like the daycare. So if
Mm-hmm.
both parents the parents for the client has both full-time job from 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 in the afternoon. So we provide the daycare. So between whatever time the client gets off from school until the parents gets home, we provide daycare to take care of them until the parent gets home. So let's say the child gets off school, 1:00 p.m. And then parents gets home like 6 p.m.
Yeah, which typically happens for our Filipino families, because a lot of them actually work the graveyard shift, right?
Yeah,
So
correct.
Yeah.
So we provide those. Case manager will assess the situation. If there's some needs for the respite and daycare, even sometimes both, or most likely either one, we will provide that. Case manager will assess. We will discuss with the family. Case manager will approve straight up. There's no special approval, or there's no director's level approval for that one. So straightforward, generic. Put that in place. Boom. Then we'll help the family. Then the other services, as you go on, like, when they're adult, when they turn 22, that's the time that, Unified School District are totally off from the client.
Yes.
So so regional center, DDS, will take over the whole thing. So the whole thing, we're talking about the whole thing. So if they need at some point, exiting from the Unified School District, if they need some continuation from those services, like whatever they receive from the district, like behavioral services, OT, PT, or even sometimes, we fund group home as well. Their home, their workability, community integration for them to have, a place from the DOR, Department of Rehabilitation. So it helps them. So any kind of services that we identify after they transition from the Unified School District, we will provide that. And then after that, as you go on until we have that client, unless the client moves out from California, or family will disclose that, okay, we will inactivate the case. We don't want regional center to get involved anymore. So that's the time that we're just going to stop. But as long as you're a regional center client, we will continue to provide service, whatever that may be, moving forward, so that they can live like, a normal, or kind of like at least on that level of living here in California.
So, Manong Jeff, ang dami pala. Madami mga services ang binibigay ng DDS to Californians, which is really, really awesome. I mean, it's like pumili ka. If you have a child or a family member who has disabilities, this is an agency that can absolutely provide you with the services that you need. Now, let's talk about the eligibility, because I'm sure it's not everybody
Correct.
qualify in order to get these services. So tell us, how can they be eligible for these services, and also hanggang kailan, up to what time are they going to be able to get these services?
Okay, so eligibilities are, there's some, we call it criteria or eligibility, whatever that is. So we have like 5 categories or eligibilities for to become a regional center client or DDS client. So first are like, if you have a cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is like one of them. Epilepsy is the second. Autism is one, that's what majority of our client, in my caseload. Autism, intellectual disability. And then the 5th category is anything that entices or something like connected to those 4 diagnoses mentioned above. So if there's something like speech delayed due to, whatever that the second diagnosis is, due to intellectual disability, due to autism, due to whatever that is, due to sometimes epilepsy because of the delay, so that can still qualify. Once you identify that one, you can ask, contact regional center in your county or whatever closest to you, and then you can ask for an assessment. So from that assessment, they will require you to provide the doctor's diagnosis that matches with the regional center assessment, because we have our own assessment. So once you get qualified, you will be eligible for any services that appropriate for the client, for
Mm-hmm.
or for your child. So if the child needs some kind of like any kind of service, behavioral services, let's say behavioral services, let's say he's still attending school, but he needs behavioral services at home, we will provide that. As a
Mm-hmm.
case manager, I can assess that. We can assess that the needs at home. So we'll be sending a person to intervene behaviors at home. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how good the DDS is, the DDS are. The regional center can provide all those uh, based on the needs.
Mm-hmm.
So the assessments is always based on the needs, and as you qualify, or you, as long as you're qualified and falls to that category, you'll get those. You will be eligible for all those services.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. I feel like maybe people who are here in New England should take a look at what California is doing for our families and children with disabilities and those array of supports for them. Napakagaling. I'm very impressed in
It
terms of
is.
what PDS is doing for our folks in California. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's switch gear for a few minutes, Manong Jeff. I picked up earlier that you had mentioned you have bilingual cases, right?
Correct.
And let's put that in the center of our cultural perspective of a person with disability, right? Let's just
Hmm.
take some of the families that I know still at times when they have a child or a family member who has a disability, they have this stigma of hiya, meaning they're embarrassed, right? Or they have the feelings of denial, right? So,
Yeah.
how would you encourage our Filipino families or even some other culture who are in California who may be experiencing this denial piece or the feeling of embarrassment to ask help from the government? Let's talk
Uh-huh.
about
So first of all, it's not only Filipinos. I mean, but commonly since we are Filipinos, alam natin lahat. It's kind of like common to us na, you know, even me at some point, like nahihiya tayo. If there's some kind of like missing or some kind of like we can't really do, even if it's not a diagnosis or even if it's not a disability, nahihiya tayo. It's a cultural thing.
that. Right,
So
right, right.
back to your questions. Before you become a case manager, you have an extensive training for cultural differences. So it's not only
Mm,
Filipinos that you have
mm,
to deal with. So you have to deal with different nationalities and stuff like that. So you have to finish that course to be able to be a case manager, fully case manager. So that
right,
you can't be stepping forward not until you finish those. So that's a very important piece because we interact with family directly.
right,
And interacting family directly, you have to have some kind of like connection or some kind of like you build connection to be able to provide the good case management.
mm-hmm,
Okay. So, okay, let's go back to the Filipino culture. I'm familiar with Filipino cultures, but
uh-huh,
still, it's a challenging piece because, you know, uh, not only some kind of like, quote unquote in denial, but
uh-huh,
again, it's kind of like hard to approach sometimes because you can see yourself sometimes kind of like in the mirror, like, okay, me, I
uh-huh,
felt that one too. I'm a parent, but if I have this situation, I'm kind of like, feel the same way. So
sure,
so the basic strategy for that one is instead of like highlighting the negativity or something like the disability for that individual, you might as well highlight with the positivity. So give those highlights the positive outcomes or the positive, things moving forward instead of like highlighting or something like addressing what's current situation right now. So
mm-hmm,
instead of doing that, you might as well kind of like, hey, have you tried looking this because this is amazing. Not really
right,
like not really like targeting their own child, but providing an example to be able for them to kind of like realize, okay, that is very similar to my situation. Are you talking about me? No, I'm talking about a different client, but at least this is the difference before and after. So
mm-hmm,
show them the positivity, show them the positive results, or show them the things that they can move forward with what they're having right now, because obviously they know what they're having right now. So That is most common. The other thing too as well is not only for the in denial piece or something like nahihiya. Um,
Mhm.
it's even if they kind of like accepted the fact that they have disability for that one,
Mhm.
disclosing information is the most challenging for us, for Filipino. They
That's
won't
right.
disclose everything. So
Uh-huh.
if you're not going to disclose to me what's really, what had happened with your child, or some kind of like, what have you tried before, what have
Right.
you, who have you reached, what did you guys done with the client, it's hard
Mhm.
for me to assess. It's hard for
Mhm.
me to identify what are the needs, what are the current needs, or what am I providing support for, you know
Mhm.
and so the hiya thing, and then the kind of like, um, uh, not disclosing, and all those, cultural things. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
we're here to kind of like, you know a little bit, try to not entice, but try to kind of like interact them with kind of like, a friendly way, and hopefully that they can agree, and go with you, and sign the addendum, or sign the objective that you have, and the planning. So the goal for us is like to be able to help the client. That's the bottom line. No matter how you're going to do it, how you're going to take that, how you're going to write the addendum, how you're going to do the planning, and identify the objectives, and whatever that is, to
Mhm.
help. The main concern here for DDS is to help the client. That's
I
the
love
bottom
it.
line. Yeah.
I love it. And what is important that I heard earlier is no matter is your economic status, whether you are very well off, very wealthy, or you're on the other side of the coin,
Hmm.
DDS is actually here for you because you have and you are guided by this philosophy of being person centered. And there is, just what you mentioned earlier, there is a department within the DDS that is person centered, which is absolutely beautiful. Now,
Correct. Yeah.
Manong Jeff, let's just make a scenario right here, okay? I am a BIPOC, Black Indigenous person of color family, and
Hmm.
I don't know anything in terms of this DDS. And I just watched this wonderful episode with Mr. Jeff Antonio, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I think I have the eligibility piece. What do I do next? Walk me through so that I'll be able to get the services that I need for my family.
So we have a website, the Department of Developmental Services. But again, as I mentioned earlier, regional center are the one facilitating. So regional
Mhm.
centers of whatever county or whatever area you are in California, there's a
Mhm.
close regional center. So in your Great Sacramento area, uh, there's a regional center here as well. If you are
Right.
in southern part, which is LA, there's bunch of regional center over there, up to San Diego. So there's regional center everywhere. So go to
Mhm.
their website, just type in regional center, and then it'll pop in. It'll pop in whatever that is. So if it's you're living in LA, regional center in Los Angeles, California, it'll pop the closest office that you have there. So in San Francisco, it'll pop the Golden Gate Regional Center. So anywhere you go, you just type in regional center. From that point, there will be a contact number right there, 1-800 number, or something like sometimes direct number. So leave a message there. We have 24 or 48 hours to reply to that voicemail. So
Wow.
it's not going to be abandoned or anything like that. It's not going to be ignored. We have 48 hours to call you back, to call the family back. So once
Wow.
you get connected to them, then you can, tell them your story, tell them what's going on. If you
Mhm.
have a client or someone, tell them, and then they can schedule for assessment. From that point, assessment will be done in regional center, but they will also provide you they will also ask you to provide medical diagnosis as well, so that if it matches, then you will be eligible for the services.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it's easy as that. You get
Yeah.
contacted within 48 hours, and then you will be assigned with somebody who's going to take over your case. This is
Hmm.
great. This is great. All right, folks. I think we're going to take a break for a few minutes. And if you are watching, or if you find this very, very helpful, and you have any particular questions to Mr. Jeff Antonio, I'm going to encourage you to please plug in your comments or plug in your questions in the comment section, and we will try our best to answer those questions when we come back. All right, folks, I'll see you in a bit. All right.
Juan Lu and his puppets face to face with special guests Makata Tawanan, Jess Box, and the Lunaria Marionette Show.
Alam mo, Tito Lo, kung wala ako, hindi ka magsasalita. Alam mo, Tito Anlo, kung wala ako, nagsasalita ka nag-isa. Kung wala ako, wala kang masusuot. Kung wala ako, wala kang nakakain.
October 30, Sunday, 7 p.m. at the La Verdad Auditorium in Apalit, Pampanga. Buy your tickets now and see you soon, face to face.
The new channel is an online alternative new media platform of online shows for people on the go. Please watch all our shows as seen on screen. Imagine having your own show, your own playlist, your own content, but we make it easier for you. TNC aims to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our channel is a responsible, global 24 over 7 platform that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. Continue to support and watch Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher on selected Saturdays, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also watch live or on replay via Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on IG, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Just search hashtag TNCNow. And for sponsorships, please email now at thenewchannel.com or send us a DM. Enjoy these life-changing shows because we made them for you. All right, folks, we are back. I hope that for the last few minutes, you've learned a lot about accessing the services that the Department of Developmental Services in California is providing to our families and children, or even adults who have disabilities. And if you would like to get in touch with our guest speaker later, I'll make sure that towards the end of this episode, we will be asking him his contact information so that you will have direct access to him. Speaking of that, why don't I bring him back in? Mr. Jeff Antonio, come on back in.
Hello.
Hello again. Hello again. So it seems like we have some viewers around the world in the Philippines right now. So it's great that, they're here with us. We thank all of them. And again, if you are here or later on, you found this episode and this may speak to you, please share it to some of the families who may need this information. All right. So any last word, Manong Jeff, when it comes to DDS?
Well, DDS, it's great. It's government funded. We provide almost everything. Like, even insurance companies, even medical. Sometimes medical is kind of like a government funded, insurance. We still fund whatever they cannot fund. So as long as there's some denial letters that we can receive and we can read, as a case manager, I will review it, and as soon as it is very transparent, and then we can provide that. DDS been providing for a lot of people with developmental services entire California. It's been amazing. It's great to be part of it, and I'm proud for as a Filipino. There's some Filipino case managers as well, out there.
Nice.
But in East Bay as well, there's some, I think, few. But it's great to work. There's a lot of work. To be honest, I have 98 clients right now currently in my caseload. That's a lot. And the normal caseload supposed to be only 65 to 70 for each case managers. But since we're here to kind of provide as much as we can. So the way things work now, it's like really trying to prioritize the needs. Whoever needs the most, then you will prioritize that one. That's part of the case management as well. So be strategic enough to handle your cases. And it's tough. Any kind of job, any kind of field, it's tough. But do the best you can. DDS can support you. I mean, I have a lot of complex case management as well, and I attend court hearings and all those stuff. I write petition requests and all those stuff. But it's always, they're on my back. Always, they provide you support. I'm well supported. From supervisor to whoever legal people in California in DDS. we have the California advocates clients rights access to.
Right.
So if you know someone that think that they were not provided some kind of like services, or they were denied for some kind of like services, we have that California clients advocates rights. It's free
Mm-hmm.
to those
Mm-hmm.
people who need it. So
Mm-hmm.
I can provide all those, as long as there's like disability for that individual, they can provide that. And even if it's not a regional center client as well,
Mm-hmm.
if you know someone, or if I know someone that being neglect or being abused or being denied for some services, if that client has disability, then we can access to that. We have an access to that legal people, clients advocates rights of California. So those are the great things about DDS. The other piece too that I really love about DDS is we are openly coordinating, and we have access to the Department of Rehabilitation if we need some kind of like supported employment. We are in connect with Social Security
Nice.
insurances. Yeah, we have in connect with social services, the California social services, so we can access the CalFresh, all those things. Even our senior kababayan here, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
like help them few to access and kind of like guide them through the process, because I'm a little bit familiar with that, for them to be able uh, to achieve that benefits or access that benefits for our retired kababayan, the older folks that we have. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar, so I'm trying to help out outside my work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there's a lot medical. We're also associated with medical.
Nice.
There's so many things. Many things I've learned with DDS. So I'm really great, and I'm happy to be part of Department of Developmental Services.
That's great. And it's almost like a two-pronged process. I'm sorry. It's like killing two birds in one stone in terms of this one, because we're highlighting the services that DDS is providing to our families. And at the same time, this is a not so typical story of a Filipino immigrant in California. Someone who is not a nurse, right? But still in the public service, which is pretty good. So, mga kababayan or anyone else who would like to enter in the field other than nursing or other than the medical field, this could be a good and noble profession to all of you. So, great. Uh, Manong Jeff, you mentioned in terms of the services that you provide or help provide our senior citizens in California. It's through this time, it's a different agency called the Social Services, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if we don't talk about that in the show, because I know you do that from the goodness of your heart. So, why don't we talk about that? Why is it important that we talk about the social services available to our senior citizens who are in California? Let's talk about that real quickly.
Yeah, social services are, DDS are really, affiliated with social services as well, because
Mm-hmm.
the individual with disabilities, we do access the benefits for same as our senior kababayans. So
Mm-hmm.
seniors and, individual with disabilities, they're very similar funding, similar eligibilities and stuff to get to these benefits, to be able to acquire these benefits. So outside my work, since I'm familiar with social services, I kind of like try to help out with our kababayans and try to access their benefits. These
Mm-hmm.
benefits for them, it's intended for them. They work hard for that. They retired, so I want them to access it. I want them to have that benefit while still living in California. So one of them are like what we call the CalFresh.
Mm-hmm.
CalFresh is kind of like before they call it food stamp, but now it's kind of like it's more a little bit more lenient, should I say, or a little bit more broad. They will just provide like an ATM. Before it was just like a check intended for that food, whatever. Now they have some kind of like a card, and kind of like an ATM card. You call it EBT. It's an
Right.
EBT card that they can utilize it and use it to even restaurants now, even gas station. So grocery store. So there's a lot of things that, they can add, they can use that, they can utilize that. And, the government, the social services can provide uh, monthly support income, monthly financial uh, expenses for that EBT. So the way it works, it's based on their assessment, based on the situation for the individual. So it ranges from $100 to $300 per individual. So if it's like a couple who will apply for that, benefit, then it could be to between $400 to $600 a month. So they can spend that $400 to $600 a month for their food, gas, and other stuff that they need for a grocery store. The other benefit that they have is, and this is a little bit, not much Filipino or not much our seniors know about this. As we know, Filipinos, and not only Filipinos, most of the seniors, they get to the stage where, they feel weak. Some of them, they suffer with some illnesses, surgeries, and some other kind of like, uncertain, situation or unexpected situation. And, I ended up like meeting them and asking, it's like, what are you guys getting support from, from the government? And they always look at me and say, what are you talking about? So I said, you should access, the in-home support services, because obviously you cannot even walk. So the IHSS, or you call it in-home support services, is part of social services in California, which is any individual, senior, or individual that is injured or some kind of like, suffering from any illnesses that impedes like 2 or 3 normal activities in a daily living, you are qualified for that one. So they always tell me like, it's like, no, I'm not going to get qualified. No, because I make money. No, it's not about making money. Even if you're a millionaire, if you cannot walk, then you need an in-home support services. You need
Jeff, hold on for a
someone to take care of you.
Can you repeat exactly the eligibility for the social services you had mentioned earlier? I want to make sure that people tune into that.
So the benefits for social services, it depends on what you're applying. So if you're applying for the CalFresh or the EBT, you have to have kind of like the ratio for the income and expenses. It has to be negative, or it has to be some kind of like, some financial struggle at some point. So most of our Filipino family here in California that I met, it's like 80% of the time they say we don't pay rent because we're living with the daughter. But yeah, technically living in California or United States, you still have to pay something. That is part of your expense. And so I have to write something out, from the paper that they both agree. It's going to be stating like, hey, this, applicant is living with the daughter. They have a mutual, agreement between this, but technically it has to be like at least $700-800 or whatever that is that they agreed upon. Then they will sign it. They'll get approved, because technically you don't need to show proof that you have a contract. Not everybody here in California has a rental contract, especially Filipinos. They do kind of like have in-laws and all those things that they will just, mutual agreement, and I'll pay you $300, $600, whatever that is. That's true. Fine. But then if you go to the assessment, if you go through the assessment and application, would you think they're going to accept that? You will tell them I'm paying $500. Okay, what's the document? Oh, we have mutual agreement. No, it has to be black and white. And while doing those, process. So that's what I've been doing with our kababayan, just trying to help them out to get through the process. There's no magic behind that. Everything is online, but case-to-case basis is just up to you on how you present the cases, because they always tell me ahead of time, I'm not going to get approved because of this. That's like, okay, have you tried it now? You want to try it? I still encourage them, even if I get some kind of like negative impact right away or negative impression. And they always say to me, this is very common, how much would I pay you? Like, I'm not rich. I need money, but I don't charge, because it's kind of like not illegal for us, but it's just, working kind of like a social work. That's not
Right.
part of what we do. I get paid for what other, things that I do in the office, but outside work, I don't charge at all. I never charged in my life. I've helped, few or many of our, kababayans, but I never did. And they always say like, hey, get this because, accept this. Like, no, it's okay. You needed more. I know I
Right.
need money, but you guys needed more. That's why I'm here trying to help you guys out. But
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, that's for CalFresh. And then for the in-home support services, they have different categories. So
Mm-hmm.
in-home support services, it's not only intended for seniors. It's
Right.
all intended for anyone who needed in-home support services.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, an individual, 35-year-old woman or minor or 25, that doesn't matter what age, injured and aren't able to perform like 2 or 3 normal activities in life. Let's say standing up cooking for more than 20 minutes. She cannot even stand for more than 30 minutes. That's one category, one qualification. Or the
Right.
other thing is like, attending her personal, hygiene or some kind of like, personal skills hygiene. She can't do that. So that's second. So there's like
Mm-hmm.
another one, like, and then you'll be qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have to go through the process and then read the guidelines. And those people that I help too, because sometimes if they fill in like not wrong, but kind of like presented the case not in the right manner,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen on the other end? That's what I do on the other end. I assess. So I know exactly what to tell them. I'm not going to accept this because a lot of clients, a lot of, applicants in California every day, hundreds or even not even maybe thousands, we don't have time to spend this one paper or 2 documents for 30
Mm.
minutes, 4 minutes. If you are missing one information there, I'm just going to put them on the side and you follow up
Right.
after like 30 days. So I always tell them that once you're filling an application and any kind of benefits through social services, you have to be true to yourself. Don't misinformation. If you don't
Mhm.
know, just put it there. I don't know. I can provide additional documentation or whatever that may be. So
That's true.
that as the other person on the other side who assess, yeah, that's form of communication. If you can communicate well on the paper, how can they expect you to communicate well in speaking? And while, because of that paper, the next process would be interview. There's like an
Right.
interview in each applicants or each application for those benefits. So,
Ah.
so those are the things. And then there's some other services as well. There's financial support for the individual, but I haven't done that one.
Mhm.
There's other bunch of others benefits, but those are the
Right.
only two that I kind of like help out with our kababayans.
That's
So
wonderful.
yeah.
You really have a good heart, Manong Jeff, in terms of helping our kababayans. And just last question. What happens if we have a friend who is undocumented? Can they still access both the DDS and the social services?
Yes,
Okay, great.
yes, and
Okay.
yes and no. Yes and
Okay.
no.
Okay. Yes for the
So
DDS.
yeah, and the
Okay.
social services, it has to have most of the benefits that social services, you have to have a US citizen. There's
They
some
have to be citizen.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
there are qualifying factors that, even your green card holder, but you have to fill in like additional documents just to prove that, you are here for a certain time. You can't be accessing those documents, or you can't be eligible if you're just here for like a year and then you
Right.
just, you know what I'm saying? So it
Right.
has
Right.
to be extended because there are some people out here in California living for 35 years, but it's not citizen. It's not US
Mm,
citizen. So
mhm.
that's what they're looking at. So it depends on your status.
Okay,
And
very good.
yeah, but on the Department of Developmental Services side, this is a good news. Even if you are undocumented, we will provide support as
That's
long as you
wonderful.
need support. Yeah, it
Yeah.
has to go a little bit longer process. There are
Mhm.
more additional documents that needs to fill in, but we will provide as long as you will get qualified through
That's
DDS.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Really, I feel like California's DDS is really very supportive of our children and adults with disabilities. I feel like, hey, Massachusetts, let me knock on your door. Are you doing all of these for our citizens here, right? So,
I have couple clients that came from Boston, and the other one is
uh-huh.
somewhere there. But they can access to, but it's more on their the legwork is more on the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then after all those legwork, still compared to California, but
Yeah.
hey, better than nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I'm part of DDS. I love my work.
Yeah, and we're glad that you were here with us this morning, teaching us exactly how to access the DDS and a little bit on the social services piece. So, one last question, which is very, very important. How can people get in touch with you if they want to ask direct questions? So, tell us,
Okay.
where can they get in touch with you?
I have both personal email and office email. So my office email is super short. It's J, my first name, Antonio, and then RCEB, that is Regional Center of the East Bay .org. So J Antonio at RCEB.org.
RCBB?
RC RCEB,
RCBB.
Regional Center of the East Bay.
Ah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure that we have it right here. It should be on the comment section later. And
Yeah.
anything else? Any other ways to get in touch with you?
And my Facebook, Jai Antonio. So
Jai
you can.
Antonio on Facebook.
Yeah, I am actually helping one individual in Alaska. It's outside state through Facebook, my messenger. But I'm almost done with all the documentation. So I'm just gonna try to provide updates for the client. We have a kababayan there that needed help, and I kind of like access to the DDS. And I'm glad that I work for DDS because I use my email at DDS. Instead of 48 hours that they responded to me in 4 hours. 4 hours, they emailed me back, and I was able to talk to the DDS people there in Alaska. They were able
That's
to help us.
great.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that's a good thing to have. Like it's a good because we both work. We know the nature, but helping individual, they can relate to us as well. So
that's right. And sometimes, we find more meaning in terms of helping other people outside of our workplace, right?
yeah, yes,
And I want to thank you again, Manong Jeff, for showing your hearts and sharing your stories and giving us all of this knowledge on DDS and social services. And I hope that a lot of our kababayans or even other Californians or anyone actually who is listening or watching this episode, um, I hope that you found this to be helpful. And if it has helped you, reach out to Mr. Jeff Antonio, and he may be able to help you out in many more details. So, with that, Manong Jeff, thank you very much. Continue what you're doing in helping our kababayans, and may you and your family be blessed more.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. All right, folks, that's it for today's episode. I will be seeing you in the next few weeks or maybe next week. And thank you again for all of your support. If you know of anyone else who I need to interview here on Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher, anyone who may have some knowledge in terms of the education field, not just necessarily a teacher, but somehow connected in the education field, please reach out to me. You can reach me at alphasanford@gmail.com, or you can directly Facebook me. You will find me actually, you will find me better on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn is Alpha Sanford. Okay, that's it for today. I will see you very soon, and thank you again. Bye for now.